All right, hello everyone. Yesterday I didn't give a class, but today there will be a class, and let's continue where we left off. We left off in a speech of the Lubavitcher Rebbe on this week's Torah portion, which is Acharei Mot Kedoshim. This was in 1962. Rebbe gave this speech, and in it he's explaining what was the sin, or was there a sin, of Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, that they tragically went into the Holy of Holies uninvited at the wrong time, and they died. It says they came close to God and they died. That's what the sentence says. That they came close to God and they died. So they came close to God. Why should they die? So the Rebbe explains that this sentence, these few words, that they came close to God and they died, are explaining something which apparently doesn't need to be explained. All right? It says in the beginning of the sentence, after the death of the two sons of Aaron, that they came close to God and they died. Obviously, it says after the death, so obviously they died. So it says, telling you why they died. Why did they die? Because they wanted to come close to God. They wanted to come close to God, and they didn't want to use that closeness, that experience that they had to fix up the world. Their whole desire was just to come close to God. And so they did. They got close to God and they left the world. On one hand, it was a very praiseworthy thing that they wanted to get so close to God. And Moses even praised them. But on the other hand, they died because they didn't complete their mission. They were supposed to, the mission for which every human is created for, namely to make this world a better place. There's a similar story by Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said he went into the secrets of the Torah with three other great holy rabbis. And the other three rabbis, they tragically experienced a, how do you say, misfortune. Oh, sorry, one of them went crazy, one of them died, and one of them became an apostate. That was Elisha ben Avu, became an apostate. But it says Rabbi Akiva that he came out in peace, but that's not what it says in the Talmud. It says that he went in peace and he came out in peace. What do we care about how he went in? It should be that just with Rabbi Akiva that all the others, they didn't come out in peace and he came out in peace. It says no, the whole thing of Rabbi Akiva was that the reason that he came out in peace was because he went in peace. In other words, he went in to the secrets of the Torah that they also experienced, but he went in with the idea of coming out and helping the world. So the same thing we can see with the high priest. The high priest, it says on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, he would come out and bless the people. And what would he bless the people with? That they would have a good livelihood, money. He didn't come out and bless the people that they should all be holy and that they should all experience God and that they should all be spiritual. He came out and he blessed them with money, because the whole purpose of being in this world is to be aware of God, and with that awareness of God, to act accordingly, think accordingly, speak accordingly, and fix up everything that happens to you in the world. Okay, all the Sipurim from the Torah, all the stories in the Torah, Zayin and Anvezing, they are a teaching. And Einvezing, they are a teaching. Niplo is not only for Yechidi Segula, only for special people, like for Aaron and for the holy people. Don't get too close to God. But for all the Jews. I mean, at first you can ask a question. You can ask a question, okay, this story, what's this story in the Torah? What's it talking about? It's talking about two sons of Aaron that were so tremendously holy and so enraptured with coming close to God that they died. Now they came too close. So what? Okay, that's good. What does it have to do with me? I'm coming so close to God. But he says, no, what's the Lechiora is the Heruah from the Sipur, the Nadav and Avihu. At first glance, this story about the two sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, is only relevant to people that might make the same mistake as Nadav and Avihu and want to come too close to God. For Yenav was halten by a person which is in the level of Ratzoi, a Kalas and Nefesh, Mamish, a person that you might want to go out of his body. He loves God so much he doesn't want anything to do with the world. Listen, there are some people that they hate their body. There's some people that they how to say self-mortification. That's found in all sorts of religions, especially there's the Hindus, these Hindu religions where I saw once, I remember a long time ago, a movie people in Hindu, they sit on glass and the whole life, not just 1 minute or something. There's some others that they walk on their hands their whole entire life. They don't walk on their feet. They want to go against their nature. Others that they don't eat and they don't sleep and they don't this because they want to go against their nature. Well, I mean, there's something good and noble about going against your nature in order to serve God. There is something noble about it. Your intentions might be good, but the fact is that's not what God wants. I saw another movie, I remember, it was in the same movie. It was the same movie. It was called like something like Religions of the World or something bizarre like that. And there are people in India, no, in Japan, and they cut off joints of their fingers. They make they show the whole ceremony. They have a little sort of an arena that there's maybe big enough for 50, 60 people, and they all sit around. And there's in the middle below there's this little sort of a little sort of a block of wood, and they got this super sharp knife. Japanese are really good at making super sharp knives, and they get down there and somebody takes his finger, and he goes whoop, and he holds it up, and there's blood spurting out of it, and that is a sign of achievement or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's a sacrifice to their God or the spirits or whatever. So you might think, that's pretty good idea. If you really, I mean, where do we get our fingers from? We get them from God. And here we have a remembrance that I am giving my finger to God. That's pretty noble, idea. The only problem is that's not what God created our fingers for, to cut them off and to give to him. We're supposed to have fingers and to use our fingers what God wants us to use our fingers for. And one of the things he does not want us to use our fingers for is to, throw them in the garbage or whatever they do with it, burn it up. I don't know what they. So it's the same thing with Nadav and Avihu. Nadav and Avihu, I mean, it's not really just to compare them to these people who totally make mistakes. They wanted to go into the Holy of Holies. They were really holy, but nevertheless, their idea was wrong. Okay, says the Rebbe, good. Okay, but we're not like that. Come on, Em. How many people are so enraptured and fanatic about serving God that they're going to make the same mistake? They're going to just go overboard. That's a very small number of people, and especially a small number of Jews. How many Jews like they want to live in the world. They want to. So says the Rebbe, so what is the lesson to us? Says the Rebbe, the lesson to us is this is for every person. Vozei darf man a person that he really wants to, you think that he's going to go close to God. You have to worry about him. But what's the teaching for the majority of the Jewish people? Biz afilu for Yidden, even for Jews, was gefinenzich, which are found, but tachton. What about Jews that are totally far away from God? I mean, they don't have anything to do with Torah or commandments or anything. And nidrika from them, which are below, I say, normal as far as Jewish observance goes. The Torah is for every Jew. What's the message over here? We can understand the Torah tells us, don't eat pork, don't eat this. Okay, you have a big desire. What's it say? Oh, and another thing, don't try to get too close to God and run into the Holy of Holies. This is not for every Jew, right? Wrong. It's for every Jew. By Yednin, by every Jew. Zainin for money. There are certain times when there is some sort of an arousal. Befrat especially is as in the Zman, in the time when Milamaila from above is an Eis Ratzon. There is what we call a propitious time. Suddenly a person gets an inspiration. Like for instance, Shabbos, Yom Tov. You hear a lecture by somebody. Right? Some people go by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. They would have a feeling, an uplifting. Unoch mer, and even more. In those days from Behi Matzol, Beyotop Karov, for instance, in the 10 days of Tshuva, it says, the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, when Rosh Hashanah was Kippurim, Befrat is Ubi Yichud, and Yom Kippurim, as the holy day, was demo, which then state Hechri is higher on seinen wachdeke Dag in day-to-day life. As a roistan from the inyanim, when a person suddenly feels himself that he's gone out from his normal routine in the world. Midvelcher is his vernoemen, tag tegelicher, his day-to-day life. Oh, so all of a sudden you get an arousal and you think to yourself, wow, I understand now, what the Rebbe meant when he said that, or what here's a story from the Holocaust, somebody sacrificed himself, and now, wow, I feel Jewish, I feel religious. There's B'shas a Yid, when a Jew, a neshama, a soul in his body, und zu demselben Zeit, and at the same time, Herber from Welt, Hecher from Welt, he's higher from the world. I thought it was higher than the world. Steht in a tenua, and he's in a movement of Ratzoi. He wants to go close to God. As Darfur Vason, he has to know, as the Ratzoi, that this going close to God, Darfur verbunden has to be with a shuv. It has to be coming back. The Kanisa and the Kodesh going into being holy, torn nit zayin upgetelt. It shouldn't be separate from Yetzirah Mi'amikdash, going out of the holy temple. The Tanua from their gracer shouldn't be right. In other words, going in should be like going out. The Grester Hisoros, the greatest arousal in them Yom HaKodesh, in the holiest days, Zolnit Bleben, it shouldn't remain upgetragen, removed, and ois getan from Welt, and separate from the world. Nor as Darv Zayin has to be, the Fester Beschloss, has to make a firm resolution to Arup Tragan, to bring down and forbinden the Hisorus, the arousal that he had, the Tug Teglech Leben, at the day-to-day life. Nichnas B'Shalom. Be'ez der Kanisa, the time when a person goes into holiness, is Darfur, the Kavanah has to have the intention, so Machen Shalom, to make peace, and verbinden Welt, to unite the world with God. I've seen cases, there are cases, Rabbi Mendel Futterfest told the story, and I'll even tell you the story. I think I'll tell it after. I hope I remember the story. About the Bundist, the Bund, okay. Und das bringt, and there's times when a person can get a big arousal to serving the creator of the universe. That he really said, wow, I'm a Jew, and all of a sudden it stays this, but then as soon as he goes into the world, he forgets it totally. In other words, it becomes like two separate domains: his religious Jewish life and his regular life. What does bring to the Dernach, it brings up that say so. I mean, the code should be that even when you go out of holy, Zol Yitzir, going out should be b'shalom. On a Roiske and the Ksurik in Vel, when you go back into the world, Mark the Shalom, he makes a peace, forbidden, and he links godliness mit the Welt with the world. As all the Indian of Olam, that everything in the world, Velen by him, are by him, done for the sake of God. Bizer kum tzu dem matzav as bakol derech, that everything that he does, he knows and he feels God. In other words, what's the Rebbe saying? Everybody, every Jew, once in a while in his life, has some sort of an arousal, some sort of a inspiration, and he wants to come closer to God. He hears sometimes, some people, they hear a beautiful chazan, in the prayers of Rosh Hashanah, of Yom Kippur. They hear a beautiful prayer. Oh, they want to, this arouses them, and now they want to come closer to God. Very nice, very honorable, very praiseworthy, right? But then after they leave the synagogue and they go out, so all of a sudden they don't want it anymore. They don't want to have anything to, this closeness. They don't want it to come close. Excuse me, we're just fixing something up over here. There we go. All of a sudden they lose their inspiration and they don't want anything to do with God anymore, right? Why not? This is why yes. What's the connection? Because the same, what did they get inspired about before? They got inspired about because of the fact that they're Jewish. and the fact that God really does exist. What happens to this fact when they go into the world? It stays back up there. Or it could be the other way around. It could be that they just say, okay, I don't want to have anything to do with the world anymore. I'm just going to be a religious person. That's also a big mistake. The hurrah from them to teach is you have to join the Kenisa Kodesh. You have to join together your when you went in to an inspiration about godliness with the going out into the world is nitnor. It's not only regarding the service of your physical things as nor oich, but also the devorim agashim, the physical things themselves. And from a Jew, Zion and forbidden should be connected with going into the holy of holies. While all inyanim, because everything by a Jew, oich the gashim, even the physical things, is by bani chayom mizoni, his family, his health, his money that he makes he should have good luck and success and all the things. But nevertheless, the kumter as a direct, it comes direct from God. Via state, like it says in Bechukosai Telechu, if you walk in my statutes, if you walk my statutes, when you do my commandments, I will give the rains in the proper time. Then there will come all of your physical needs when you need, as kenayid nor durach mekayim zayin Torah mitzvahs. In order that you should receive it is only by doing Torah and mitzvahs properly. So what's the Rebbe saying? The Rebbe is trying to say like this: listen, God provides for everybody, right? There was one person, I remember heard the story, that he said to the Lubavitcher Rebbe that I can't, just one second, I want to write something down so I don't forget it. There was a yeah, if God provides us life and He provides for everything. Oh, that's it. Somebody went into the Rebbe and said, "Listen, Rebbe, I'm a religious Jew. I can do, but I can't keep Shabbat. I can't keep Shabbat. There's just I make too much money on Shabbat, and there's customers and everything, and I can't lose it. It's like 1/3, 1/2 of my livelihood is on Shabbat." And the Rebbe said to him, "Listen, you believe in God, right? God feeds 7 billion people. At that time was 30, 40 years ago, 6 billion people. God, you really think it's going to be a problem for God to provide for one more person? And if you really do believe in God, so it can't be that God is just, He's just my God and that's it. And why should God care about me? So the answer is, what do you mean, why should He care? Why should He care about anybody? And we see that He does care about everybody, and He provides food for all the people, and also for all these animals and everything. So God can also provide for you, but doesn't mean you should sit around like an animal, do nothing, and that God will just provide you. Or you should just, anytime you come across some money laying on the street, you should just take it or take somebody's wallet like animals do. Right? Animals, they break into houses, they take whatever they want to. Don't totally act like an animal, but you should understand that if God provides for the animals and they don't do anything special to serve God, they just go according to their nature. So if you go against your nature, His God will take care of you. Good, it could be that He's not going to give you, a brand new car all the time. Maybe yes, but you'll certainly have what you need, and you'll be happy with what you have because you'll know that you earned it properly. Okay, Shalom Yali, this is a person that says it's going to be okay. I'll do whatever I want to. That's Shalom und sein Hashpa Gashmius vet erhaben wenn vet nachgehen die Zelesenkeit. He says, don't worry about it. There's all these big mafia guys and all these other crooked people, and they do whatever they want to, and they make a good living. And I'm going to be like them. So those are the people I really envy, right? I'm going to do whatever I want to, and I'll make a living. As Bekumt is need from Kedusha, then he makes a livelihood, yes, but it doesn't come from a holy side. The Cheshbon can halten nor by This will work, but only for a short amount of time. So because finally in the end, moves their chayas from a Yidden, the life from a Jew, haben a direct verbund, has to have a connection with godliness. On oich dem, and also then, is Marumas is hinted at the connection between Kenisa, Lifnei Upanim, going into the Holy of Holies, with going out from the Holy of Holies, into the world. There are movements in Judaism. And there were especially like from Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch and others, and that they said that pretty much the same thing, that you have to have both. You have to be a Jew in the streets as well, but you have to take your Judaism into the streets. Don't be ashamed of people. You have to be a Jew also in your business, and that's generally the idea of what Chabad says. Also, the same thing. There's also Rabbi Soloveitchik, and he says basically the same type of an idea. You have to take the Torah, use the Torah in the physical world. The difference is that by Chabad, the emphasis that they have on God and serving God and loving God, and the explanations that they have on how to do it, this is a sort of a different type of inspiration regarding God. And with this inspiration, it can take you into, how do you say, darker places, if you want to call it, in order to fix them up. You can have more, and there's more of a drive to influence other Jews to do the same. Non-religious Jews, anti-religious Jews, to be a good example, to go and fix them up. These other groups from Rabbi Hirsch and from Rabbi Soloveitchik, they're also all for this. It's not that they're, but Chabad sort of gives you the emphasis on what is a Jewish soul. What is God? What is the connection of God? What happens when you do a commandment? It makes much more of a use of Kabbalistic, if you want to call it, and spiritual ideas that gives you a much further, greater anchor in faith, in emunah, so that you take more for granted. You're living more with the things that you don't understand, with godliness, levels of godliness you don't understand, so you can do things that you thought are impossible. That's the idea of taking the highest ideas and bringing them down into the lowest, because basically nothing is understandable, especially how this world should be run according to the Torah. That's just really wild. Nobody says something like that. There's no religions that have such an idea that this world is so precious and it has to be go according to their book. There's not the whole world, but only to do that, you have to go into the Holy of Holies, and whatever your Holy of Holies happens to be, as close to God as you can possibly get, and then you can come out. Davka noch dem, only after that, and that you have gone into some level of holiness, and you've felt like that the Kohen Gadol, like the high priest, when he goes into the Holy of Holies, then he can go out. When he came out, when he came out, Mispalul Geven, then he can pray on a roiskan and a rois bet, and he can request parnasa, physical livelihood. When he came out, what did the Kohen Gadol ask for? Livelihood. I'll tell a story immediately after the class, and I'll to illustrate this. Nachmer, and even more done then, kum the amshachas parnasa bariboy. Then a person can get livelihood even more than before. Anagbalos, without any limit. Vibal, because it comes from lifnei b'fini. Kamor, like we said before, is by their kanisa, when the high priest went in, and the whole Yom Kippur is to the Holy of Holies, is relevant to Beisov Ishto. It says that he went in, is that he prayed for also his family, also for his wife. Yeah. The Kohen Gadol says, it says, for his house also, his household. In order, as Zalzain the Kenisa El Kodesh, in order for the high priest to go into the Holy of Holies, via Darsus, and the way it should be, was demo, which then he brings the Yetzea, that he can come out in peace, was does is their tachlis, this is the whole purpose of going in, is as upping, this depends on Yiddish Afroin, it all depends on the Jewish women. As a filu ven, that even when, here we go. even when the man of the house, their husband, is found in the Holy of Holies, then also then she's considered to be his household. What does it mean? Zugepasst zu sein Darga und noch mehr, that she has to be according to his level. In other words, she has to make the household according to the level that her husband is achieving. There's the merit, und the Pflicht, and the purpose, the job of Nashe, the women, and Benos Yisrael, is to wirken, is to bring about, of their men, they should influence their husbands and their children, as by they, that by them should be connected, the going into the holiness with coming out of holiness. In other words, they should do everything they can to encourage their husbands to be connected to God and His Torah, etc. Yiddish Freuer, Jewish women, darfen sich nit sorgen, they shouldn't worry as oib their men, if the husband, vedaven, if he prays or he learns an hour more, as oib vet lernen mer mit, or if he learns more than an hour, etc. Vet fillen and in Gashmit, that who's going to make the money, who's going to bring the bread home? Und das selbe thing, and the same thing, hat kein Ort nicht zu zeigen. There's no reason to worry, as oib men vet mechanech sein. Kinder, if you teach your children that they should learn Torah, or do the commandments. If they're going to teach their children that they should learn Torah, do the commandments, vet später than later. It'll be later. If they teach their children that they should learn Torah, then later on, the children won't be able to get along in the world. Well, what are they going to do? Nor Adarab, exactly the opposite. Zaydarf and Mazba, they have to teach the children. Sein selber Männer und Kinder, their husbands and their children, as Davka during Mosef sign, that the women have to encourage their husbands and their children, that specifically through being connected to God, learning Torah, doing the commandments, is their bechukos lechu, as mitzvah tishmo, that they'll do my commandments, as vet sugakum, that will come, only by being holy and connecting yourself to holy things will be your livelihood in a proper way. So what's the Rebbe trying to say over here? The Rebbe is trying to say that the world is not only controlled by God, we have to make vessels for God's blessing. And the vessels for God's blessing is that we have to be connected to the creator of the universe, and also to make, vessels in this world to make them. So the job that we have, the business that we have, the source of livelihood that we have, that's just a pipeline for the blessing of God. And that we have to be connected to God. We see that there's people that have a lot of money and that they're not connected to God whatsoever. Says, okay, that's a test for us. But nevertheless, the idea is that every Jew, in that he is a Jew, has to understand that God not only creates the world and gives us life, but He also provides for us. And He provides not only for the Jews, for everybody. But all the livelihood of the world comes through our connection to the Creator, but we have to bring it into the world as well. So there we have to learn from Rabbi Akiva that he went in peace to the Holy of Holies, but he came out, to the deep secrets of the Torah, but he also came out and gave us the blessings that we have, not to make the same mistake as Nadav and Avihu. That's also the high priest. He went into the Holy of Holies and he came out. Rabbi Akiva brought us Torah. This is the whole Torah Shabbat Peh, the whole oral Torah comes from Rabbi Akiva. And the high priest, he was the one that brought blessing to all the Jewish people. Okay, I'll give you a story.